everybody? It's your girl, Melissa. Hoping y'all are having a fabulous Friday. Today, I have special guest with me, Jamila. And I'm so excited, guys. I'm so excited to have her. We've been talking about 2020 vision, writing it down, making it plain. We've been talking about last week. We talked about self love and getting to love yourself and going into this new year. And what better else way to start off than talking about your finances as well and getting things in order. So I just want to introduce you to Jamila, let her tell you about herself and
yeah, hey guys, hey viewers, hey listeners, so glad to have you on. Yeah, a little bit about myself. I'm actually a native of Denver, but I know that we're live worldwide, and so, but yeah, live here, grew up here, and I have a business, Appreciation Financial, work in different areas of finances, but typically in the retirement planning, and now something new to our program is debt cancellation, debt um, relief, and different ways on how to relieve yourself of debt and get rid of debt within a short span of time.
Yeah, and I know kind of when we were talking too, like being in debt, there was a time that I was financially not there, and I think we all go through stages, some more critical than others. But I love the program that we were talking about and what you have because, back in the day, if I had someone like you to help me out in that financial crisis, I feel like I would have been gone so much better. So if you want to talk about, like, give a highlight on it,
Yeah.
Let people know what it's all about and this new program that they're rolling out. I'm super excited.
Absolutely. No, I'm excited to share it with you because, to be honest with you, I saw a statistic and debt cancellation or getting out of debt is in the top three for New Year's resolutions for a lot of Americans. And so, and it should be because U.S. total consumer debt is up at a rate of $14 trillion. That's 12 zeros. That's a lot of debt. And so, obviously there's a need to eliminate that debt. And so if you take a look at that, that's an average of about $108,000 per household. So that's a lot, and it's continuing to grow. So, I would just ask your listeners and even yourself, to think, how would you describe your debt situation right now? Are you making monthly payments that you just can't afford? Or maybe you're paying really high interest rates, or maybe you're just falling further and further behind financially. It stresses you out. You can't sleep at night. Maybe it's all of those things, right?
Yeah.
And so, it would just feel so much better to be out of debt. And there are customized programs, such as the one I'm going to talk more about, that are customized to your particular need based on what it is, where you are, that help you get out of debt within about 3 years, completely out of debt within 3 years. 92% of the clients that we help are fully out of, when I say debt, I say unsecured debt, out of unsecured debt within 36 months.
Wow, that's awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And it is incredible. And and when you and I were talking, you said that, you kind of had not the best experience because you felt like the company that you work with maybe hurt you more than helped you.
Yeah.
And so, that's a really important piece because you want to work with somebody honest who's going to help you. And so if we can't help you, we'll let you know. But again, 92% of the clients we work with, we're able to help.
Yeah, and that number too is alarming because if you guys don't know, like that 14 trillion is just in credit card debt, right?
Yeah.
And that's not including like your house or your car or anything else. That's just credit card debt, and so that's just like alarming, like how much in debt
Yeah.
like it is.
Yeah, it is. It is high, and it's continuing to grow. And so, certainly it is a problem that we're all faced with. And the thing about getting out of debt, some things you're more open to go and talk to somebody else about and say, hey, I have this issue, and what did you do? But sometimes with debt, we're a little ashamed of ourselves,
Oh yeah.
and so we don't want to go and talk to our friends about, hey, I'm in debt. How did you get out of it? Or are you in debt? And it's a hard subject to talk about. And so a lot of times we try to just do it on our own. And you really can't do it on your own if you don't know about all the programs that are out there for you that want to help you. And so, the recommendation is to find somebody that can help you with that. And so certainly,
Yeah.
I want to be able to do that for people. That is what we do. And so, it's a really great place to be. It's so fulfilling to be
Yeah.
able to help people get out of debt and, get them back on their feet. And really by cutting down your debt, you're increasing your income.
Yeah.
So if you look at it as, hey, that's more income to me.
Yeah.
It's like getting a raise at work.
Yeah, yeah. And it's so true about finding someone that you trust, or the shameful factor. I think for me, like, this is about 10, 11 years ago, since this happened with me anyway. And at the time, like, I was still young, and I was like shameful, like, oh, like, my situation was a little bit different, but I was just like, man, this is just horrible, and you don't know who to talk to. And for me, like, the people that I talked to, like, I would have questions, but they wouldn't really like answer them. They would answer them, but be very technical. And for someone like me, I'm like, can you break that down to something I can understand? And I think sometimes you pull back because you're just like, okay, well, I'll just trust them. Like, they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. One of the things that we actually use a software, and it is simplified. It's pretty easy to understand. It just kind of says, here's where you are. If we could do this for you, this is how much you would owe, or your monthly payment, or whatever that would look like. And so I think that's a great point, because I sit down in front of clients all day long,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are intimidated when it comes to finances in general. And so you're right. It is a subject hard for a lot of us to really understand. So you need somebody that knows what they're talking about, but can bring it down into terms that are understandable for a layman.
Yeah, yeah. And so Jamila guys is here because I just want to highlight her because she's very trustworthy, and she is a helper all around, like not just in her business, but just in personal life, like knowing her personally. And this is definitely someone you can trust. So if you need someone that you can go out to and, want to consolidate or however, I'm going to let her explain. Don't listen to me. Just know that she is a trustworthy, and that's my word on it, that, this is someone you can talk to and be open with. And, she's very, uh, what's the word I want to use? Someone you can confide in that is not gonna, go out there and tell the rest of your stuff. Because I know we all get worried about that. I know when I was going through my finances, I was like, man, are they gonna go like spread it to everyone? You just think that way, just like your process. I don't know. Maybe this is my process. I don't know. But I just want her to share with you guys. So whatever you have today, like the process or however this works, and we want to highlight you and bring you business, and for all of you who are out there in debt, like I was, not now, like I was, we're here to help you. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. You kind of brought up debt consolidation a little bit, and there really are different. There's debt consolidation, there's debt settlement, there's debt validation, there's debt assumption. And so there's, again, I know I'm getting kind of technical here already, but really we can help in all those different areas. So debt consolidation, it's really taking all your credit card debt, combining it all into one, typically with a mortgage, and then you have just this one payment. The thing with doing that, and sometimes it's the right thing to do,
yeah,
but sometimes when you do that, you're paying for a longer period of time, and of course there's some closing costs and things like that. So in the end, you could end up paying considerably more than you may need to. And then you also have, like I said, debt settlement. And so debt settlement is there's attorney based and then there's non-attorney based. And of course, we always recommend attorney based when it comes to debt settlement. But what that really is it's a savings plan. And so you start saving, and then you take your savings and you go to your creditors and you say, look, this is what I can afford to pay with that attorney. And the attorney kind of fights on your behalf. And once the debt is cleared, you also have this fee that you pay your attorney. So then there are some fees involved. And so sometimes that's a good way to do it. Sometimes it isn't because there are some fees involved. Then you also have the debt validation. And so debt validation, it's really sold, your debt is sold to a collection agency. And, and then your credit is restored, typically 36 months, low payments. So that's a good option, and it can be really good for a lot of people. Then there's also this thing called debt assumption. And so what that is it's a third party, another company that assumes your debt. So they're now responsible for your debt. And so, again, that restores your credit. And so what that is that might be saying, Melissa, I can pay you 45% of what I owe. And then you, as that company, says, okay, I'll take that 45%. And so not only are we cutting back your payments, we're just cutting your debt altogether. And so that's a good way to do it. And with our plan, with our program, that debt assumption is actually 100% guaranteed. So when you talked about earlier about being trustworthy, or maybe they didn't help you the best, this program would actually give you a guarantee. So if you're not debt free, then any charges would go back to you. So so there's some peace of mind knowing that they're really gonna, we have to help you because we got this guarantee, right? So that's kind of the nice thing about it. But if I was just to give you an example, most people are in debt about 40,000. That's pretty average, not as a household, but as an individual. And so if you're making your minimum payments on $40,000 at, let's say, at a 19% interest rate, which is about right, you're going to end up paying at the end of it about $83,000 and it would take you about 22 and a half years. That's a long time for 40,000, right? And so that would be around that if you were just to pay that minimum payment. But if you were to take that same 40,000 and do a refinance mortgage and maybe take some cash out, that would be 30 years. And if, let's say that interest rate is 4%, you're not paying as much, you're paying about 68,000, but still the longevity of it, you're still paying for 30 years, right? Now, you could also declare bankruptcy, and we talked about that a little bit just as we were talking. But if you were to declare bankruptcy, it takes about 5 years to get through the whole process and then get to a place where you can start repairing your credit. And then there's that debt settlement. That debt settlement, you could probably settle that debt for about 20,000. So now you're paying 20,000 up 3 to 4 years. Then that debt assumption and debt validation, about 18,000 in 36 months. So again, different formulas, different ways to get out of debt, just depending on what each individual's plan is and how they want, how long they want to, what they can afford, all those things. So.
And so, is there a minimum or a maximum of what you guys go with so far as like clients coming in? Like, say me for instance, say I have like 7,000 in debt. Is that something? Would you recommend someone else or going somewhere else, or do you reach like higher people in debt, or how does that work?
Yeah, so that's a great question. The minimum is 15,000 and it's unsecured debt. So what do I mean by unsecured? Like credit card, gas cards, even student loans if they're not federally funded. So secure debt is like your home mortgage or auto payments, things like that. So it doesn't apply to secure debt, but it does to unsecured. So the minimum is 15,000, because that's really where it's going to start making a difference.
Yeah.
And the maximum is $250,000. So anywhere in between there, we can help.
Okay. And then, how do people go about the process of like contacting you and,
Yeah.
because I know I got some friends out there. I ain't saying who, but you need to call her. But it's really
come on, friends.
yes, come on, friends. So this is to help you out and
That's
really,
right.
I can speak for myself personally. When I was struggling financially, I wish I had someone there to guide me through and talk me through it. And again, it's not something to I feel like you should be shameful. I know we all feel that way, because I felt that way, and it was like, oh, like I don't want them to know. And so I wasn't really seeking for the help that I probably could have got because I was so like, I don't want no one to know what's going on and what's happening. Like this is embarrassing. But getting your finances in order, and I just think this is like one of the best times, like starting off the year, right? Because then you can see your progress, like over the year and how everything's, you know, going down and how everything's happening. And I just think it's like a great program.
Yeah, it's a reset button. It's like you're
Yeah.
starting all over, new year, new vision, start over, and start to watch that kind of diminish, kind of cut down. And yeah, I would just tell your listeners and your viewers, to think of how much unsecured debt do you have right now,
Yeah.
and how many separate accounts make up that amount, and then also what are your combined monthly payments on that debt, and so if you've got that number in your head and you know what that combined monthly payment is that you're making on credit cards or just on that unsecured debt, what if you could cut those payments in half? What would that make you feel like? How much income, we talked about it increases your income.
Yeah.
How much income would that give you? Right now, a lot of us as Americans, we should be saving for retirement. We can't do that because we're not out of debt. So we're not even in a place where we can save for retirement when we're not in our working years. And so that's a dangerous place to be in. And that's really what I'd like to help your viewers, your friends. But if you didn't have to pay interest, because on some of the programs, not only is your debt um, minimized, but then on top of that, you don't pay the interest, and that's how you get that debt paid off in 3 months, 36 months.
And interest rates are extremely high because I was like looking around on credit cards the other day, like just matching up different credit cards, and then like the average credit card is at least like 24% interest.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's crazy because I haven't had a credit card in a long time. It's their bad news. But the last time I had one, like mine was like I think like at a 14% rate, and so when I was looking at stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy to think, because you're spending all this money, you keep spending, and then you have like 24 plus interest rate on it, and it's like, wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah. And if you only make the minimum payments, you're going to be paying for a very long time. And so that's a great point. It is. And so, I would just encourage your listeners to get control of your debt. Just think of what your life would be like if you didn't have that debt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you would feel in control. There's peace of mind. And for some of us, we can't sleep at night because we've got debt on our mind, or relationships. For some marriages and relationships, it's tough when you're in a situation where you don't have breathing room
Yeah.
because of the debt that you incurred.
Yeah, and it is strenuous on like yourself and relationships and that. I know for me, like, my kids were, I didn't even have my second son at the time. It was still my first son who was very little. But even then, it was just like, man, like I'm stressing so much about it that I'm like not even paying attention so much to him or anything else because it's solely like what you're focused on. So to know, like, to get your finances in order, is not a shameful thing at all. Like, I mean, and again, I'm not speaking for everybody, but I feel like that's how most of us feel, like a shameful part of it, and it's like you don't know how much like weight it brings off of you, like even just to talk to somebody about it, and you're like, oh, okay, like I feel a little bit better, and someone's gonna help me through the process.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just to talk about it, it's kind of almost like counseling,
Yeah.
like to open up and say, "Look, I have a problem and I need help," and then to sit down with somebody that can help you see a pathway to getting out of that debt. That is a lot of relief. It does take a lot of weight off your shoulders, and yeah, it's incredible. You're right.
Yeah, it is. I know, like, for me, I was like, the minute I spoke about it, and I'm always an emotional person, so I was like crying. This is what's going on. And then they're like, okay, calm down. Like, you're gonna be alright. I was like, are you sure? But it releases so much. And now that, like, like finances are in order and everything, it brings so much peace to your life. Like, and you realize like how much money really like wasting to all
That's
like
right.
these extra like fees and everything. And so yeah, it's a good program to like do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would definitely recommend at least. And earlier you said, well, what do your viewers need to do? I can give my phone number and then my email address as well. That's the best way, just so that we can sit down. Everything is personalized. There isn't something that I can just shoot to
Yeah.
somebody because everybody's need is so individual. But my phone number, then 303-915-8827. You can also email me, and it's J Nathaniel, and Nathaniel is Nathaniel. So J Nathaniel at appreciationfinancial.com.
Yeah, and that's so awesome. And it's for those of you that are just tuning in. We're talking about finances, and we're going over this great program that Jamila has. She's with AP Financial, and she has this great program rolling out to help people that are in debt. And coming from somebody who was in debt, like I can't tell you how much I wish I had somebody like her when I was going through it. So, if you have any questions or want to reach out, we can take your questions over the live. We can see them. So any questions that you might have about how this, maybe how the program works, or she just gave out her information about how you can get a hold of her and how you can connect with her. But again, just we talked about getting our finances in order for the year, and I think what better way to start off in January, right? Because I feel like for me personally, we're about writing the vision, making it plain, knowing where we want to go. So I know a lot of people put on their vision boards about finances and getting out of debt and doing that. So this is such a great opportunity, and we have someone for you in these resources.
Yeah, let's get that off your vision board. Let's get a check mark, right?
Yeah, or even
That's good.
you can fill it halfway, fill in the box, fill in the box halfway. And so she's got a lot of programs, and also with I was talking about the rollout with the credits and these programs that we have. You also do retirement, yes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So for um, and we work with everyone. We work a lot with teachers because um, it's kind of sad to say, but our teachers are sometimes the most underserved, um, especially when it comes to in the financial industry. And so I get to help our teachers. I'm in schools a lot, helping our teachers with their 403bs and 401ks and IRAs and things like that to help them build a retirement for their for their future, which supplements for teachers. They have a para pension, and so it supplements that. And but we help anybody with retirement. And there's so many things. You can use life insurance for retirement, IRAs, 401ks, so many different ways. And in this, with the volatility of the stock market, I think it's kind of a scary place sometimes to invest your money because you don't know,
Yeah.
and just depending on your risk tolerance, you might say, oh, I don't mind losing a bunch of money, but most people in today's climate don't want to lose money to make money, and so
Yeah.
we have plans that you don't lose money based on the stock market, but rather you're growing money, and then we even have retirement plans that pay you for your lifetime. So just some really great ways to enhance your retirement and start thinking about that. So if you're in a place where maybe you're not in debt, or maybe you sit down and we help you with your debt, you've got this extra income, you can take that income and put it towards your retirement planning.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's awesome.
yes.
Yeah. And so another question that I just came to mind was, so, we have a lot of viewers that are outside of Colorado as well. So would they be able to contact you as well, or is it just strictly Colorado, or would our viewers outside of Colorado be able to contact you if they wanted to?
Yeah, I believe for the debt,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, absolutely. For the retirement planning, you have to be licensed, and I am licensed in several other states. So just depending on the
Yeah.
state, if I'm licensed, I can. If not, my company is nationwide, and I can refer you to someone that does fairly the same things that I do um, in your respective state.
Yeah, because I know we have tons of viewers that are out everywhere. So, especially with the debt consolidation, or what exactly is the program called? I just keep calling it a debt consolidation.
Yeah, it's just overall it's debt relief.
Debt relief.
Yeah.
Okay. So with debt relief, guys, you can contact her. So anybody from anywhere, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So any of you that have, even like consultation, is that how it is? Like this.
Yeah,
How does it work
just
out?
free
Okay.
advice, consultation.
Yeah.
Yeah, just call. Let's see how we can help.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
so she can definitely help you out. And like I was telling you guys earlier, she's very trustworthy. Like, you guys have my word, and um, I wouldn't trust anybody else. She's so
Well, thank
awesome
you.
and confidential, and you're in good hands with it. And so, we're talking about debt, we're talking about your stuff. Is there any other like stuff that you want to talk about with your program?
Um, I mean, not really. I think I've covered it. I don't want to get too
Yeah, yeah.
technical and make anyone feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening here. Um, I guess I could, let's see here.
I know you brought some stuff, so I wasn't
Yeah,
sure.
I just kind of put a PowerPoint together just to kind of keep my thoughts
I have to do
organized.
that all the time. I have like post-its everywhere.
Yeah, so here I'll give you an example of a client that was $40,000 in debt, and so we were able to knock off that $40,000 to $18,000. Their monthly payments were about $1,200 a month, and they are now paying $560 a month in over 36 months. And so after 36 months of that $560, they'll be out of that
Wow, that's
$40,000
good.
debt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
More
pretty
than
incredible.
half.
So yeah, it's about 45% less um, that they end up paying, because there are some fees, I think, that they, in this case anyway, that they have to pay. So yeah, I think really, if there's questions, I'd love to answer some questions. But yeah, think so.
Yeah, so if any of you have questions, and I was talking about earlier, so those of you who are just tuning in, we've been talking about this new program that's rolled out. Jamila is with AP Financial, and debt relief. I keep calling it debt consolation or consolidation. I don't know. But with debt relief, and when I was going through my debt like years ago, it was that time I was again like you were shameful and not wanting to share with people and not wanting to open up about it because sometimes you're like, oh, how did I give me so much debt? I know that's how it was for me. I was like, what is going on? What's happening? And she will be able to help you, and like you just heard her, she'll be able to help you and give you like a free consultation, or just call her. Like even if any of you right now have questions, like thank you so much for joining, Nicole, Cody, Deborah. I mean, we have a lot of people on here. Peggy, Leo, Fonte. Hey, Fonte. And we just have a lot of people tuning in. So, if any of you have any questions right now that you'd like to ask, we want to open that up to you guys and answer any questions that you might have. Well, Jamila, not me. I like, don't be paying your minimum payments. Don't be paying $10 per month, guys. I'm just going off of what I did. So, but there's a lot of great things, and I know you have a lot of other great things going on, and how's life? How's everything else?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I do help small business owners as well. I put out a book this last July, and my business is a little bit slow, but it's certainly picking up. And so, if you're a small business owner, I help increase your revenue there as well. So that's exciting. But life is good. Life is great. Love being a native of Denver. Get to travel a lot, but Denver's a good place.
Yeah.
I like calling Denver home. Every time I come back from a trip somewhere else, it always feels good. And love the weather. It's kind of cold today, but love the weather here. It doesn't even really feel like winter.
No, it was like a chill today though, like some weird
Kind of a
like
bone chilling.
yeah, it was like what I'm not prepared for this. And it's speaking with your business, with startup businesses. I know Nico was actually talking about that because I was talking about how you're coming on the show, and it's like a lot of the small businesses are like interested if they need help and they don't know where to go. So I was like, go to Jamila, go to Jamila, she'll help you out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or get you pointed in the right direction.
That's right.
And so there's just lots of things going on. I know with your business, with your book. What's your book about? I'm so interested in your book because when you told me you had a book, I was like,
yeah. So the book really is. It gives you a lot of tips on marketing and your business, and sometimes just tweaking something very small. Like for example, you always get those value add packs
yeah,
in the mail, and a lot of small businesses, because they can't really afford um, major types of advertising, they'll use those value packs to advertise and market their business. But a lot of times the message that is being delivered in that value pack doesn't resonate with with their target audience. And so what we do, the book talks about being able to tweak just something as little as your marketing, and how much of a difference that can make. I have a client who's got a restaurant, a small restaurant, but we changed their marketing piece in the value pack, and they had to put a stop on everything because they weren't prepared for they didn't know how to scale up, because that ad marketing changed the amount of customers that they were getting. And so they were like, wait, don't do anything else. I got to hire more people. And so just something as little as that sometimes will make a big difference. But there's a lot of tips in there on how to just change some small things to start attracting clients,
Yeah.
customers.
And I know there's a lot of small businesses out there, and uh, we're always looking for ways and different tricks and tips. Oh, my tongue tied over here. Tips and tricks of re-strategizing. That's pretty much like what you're doing, like going back and looking at it, And I know for me, I go back a lot of times and look at stuff like in my business and I'm like, okay, what do I need to do different because this obviously isn't working. And it could be something so simple that
Mm-hmm.
you're just. I think sometimes when you keep looking, kind of like when you look at a screen forever, it just starts going blurry and everything
Yeah.
just like, what is happening?
No, that's a really good point. And sometimes, as a business owner, you see the same thing, and it's good to have somebody else come in with a fresh new pair of eyes to show you some things differently. And so, yeah, I think you're right, and it is important to reevaluate your business every, you do 30, 60, 90, uh, half a year, every year. It's definitely important to do that, and sometimes it's very helpful to have somebody else come in and do that with you.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there's a lot of different ways. A lot of times, I've got another restaurant owner that I'm thinking of that um, we changed the seating in their restaurant, and it opened some things up, made it look like it was bigger and attracted more of a younger crowd as who they were kind of that was their target audience, and so there's just sometimes just little things, and um, but the other thing that I do is not just the book, because sometimes you read the book and it's not always enough. I also have an e-learning system with it where you're kind of get an email almost every week that you can start implementing into your business. And then, of course, there's one-on-one coaching with myself as well. So a lot of different ways to try to grow your business. It's out there, and certainly I can help with that as well.
Yeah, and you're a successful businesswoman, and I love that. And so, getting into the business that you were, who inspired you? Like, what inspired you to like take this profession or be in? I know you love helping others. That's probably one big key factor. But is there like a mentor or somebody that just really spoke to you that like got you in the path that you were?
Yeah, so I just, after college, I got my degree in business management, and after college, I actually was working for a grocery retailer, and I just really promoted quickly. I did enjoy working with people, and I was just having success there. And then I actually was a store manager at Walmart for some time, and I learned a lot at Walmart about business. And so I took everything that I learned from there. But I wasn't always the best at managing people, and so I had to learn some things. But you said who inspired me, and really my life changed when I started. I really gave my life to Christ, and when I did that, I started going to church, and so everything I'm doing is God inspired, is what I would say. And so, it's just everything in the past was me doing things on my own. And while most people would see that as successful, on the inside, I felt like there was more on the inside of me. And it was almost like a battle going on the inside of me. Like, Jamila, there's more, but this is what you're doing and it looks good. And so once I started going to church, um, everything really changed. And like I said, I maybe didn't manage people the best. As I went to church, I'm a whole different person. I'm totally different than who I used to be, and I have much greater relationships with people. But I really allow God to kind of dictate my steps, and the more and more I'm learning to do that, the more and more success I'm having, He's sending me the resources like these businesses. And so it's really not even in my own strength that this is happening. And so, that's my faith and my experience, and you can't tell me any differently because I know what I feel, I know what I've
Yeah.
seen, and I know who I was before, I know who I am today, and it's completely a different person. And so, um, you know, I just really have God to thank for that.
Yeah.
I
Thank
really do.
God.
Yeah.
And um, even myself, like I with this past like New Year coming in New Year, and um, for those of you that don't know, Pastor PT Potter's House, he had this message for New Year's Eve and talking about the new decade that's coming, right? And the revealing. And one of the things that he talked about in there was like looking back at the past decade.
Yeah.
And just honestly, like going back and looking back, like I made out like this little list, and looking back from where it started in 2010, and like you could just see strategically like where God's hand was in every single thing. And it's like it's so true because like where God has brought us from, it's so amazing to see now, because I think sometimes we forget, and not because we forget intentionally, but like we just forget like where we were. And looking back on that, you're like, wow, like I really came this far. So that's awesome.
It's awesome that you mentioned that because I did the same thing. Because PT did say, hey, kind of, don't just look at your last year. Don't just look at 2019, but look at the decade. Because 2019 for me, probably not my best year. So when I was thinking of 2019, I was like, oh, I'm so glad I'm out of 2019. Let's get into 2020. Um, but I challenged myself also to look at the decade. And when I did that, there were so many things that I saw. One of the things I saw was it was right in the middle of the decade. In 2015 is when I started going to the Potter's House. So right in the middle of the decade, my life changed. And so we talked a lot about money, and so stock markets, they kind of go up,
Yeah.
up and down. So if I looked at my decade and kind of mapped it out on a graph like that, um, I was doing okay from 2010 to 2015, and then 2015 it was pretty much a steady climb,
Yeah.
and then maybe 2019 maybe not the best, but if you average that out, my decade, there's a lot of things that happen in the decade. And so, and again, I really have God to thank for that. But I think that's so important to look at the whole decade and how, for me, where God has brought me to, from, and to,
Yeah.
and just so grateful, so thankful, and thank you to Pastor Torre for allowing us or giving us the challenge, or just the insight to go and do that, because that really made a difference for me, and not just to think about the year. Because if I looked at just the year, I would be kind of disappointed. But when I look at the whole decade, um, I'm grateful and I'm in awe.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that was me, and like it's so crazy because even when I was looking back and doing, because that hit me hard that day, and I was like, wow, like looking at your full decade and making an analysis of it, and like actually seeing like how you said like the sparks, like, or I don't know, like, they're sparks to me, seeing the sparks go up and down. And I could just remember like looking back to 2010, it was like, and I can tell you the date, like October 22nd of 2010. That was like when everything changed for me. Like everything was like crashing down, and it was like, oh man, like I was going back and looking at that, and it's just like, wow, you see like the ups and downs of going, and it's just like, wow, it's so awesome. So I'm just so glad that like God has blessed you, and like you know your business and everything, because for those of you that may not be believers, or don't believe in Christianity and that, but like for us that do believe, and even putting in just seeing like where God is in our businesses, and where He is strategically like placing everything, and it's just so awesome because it's like I know for me knowing where I am, it's like I wouldn't be there without Him, and So I love that, and I love like I can share faithfully and strongly and
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and I would just add to that that that's from that's my business aspect of it, but he's changed my relationships with people, and that you can't even put a price tag on that.
Yeah,
Just being able to, and not that I was terrible at relating with people before, but he's worked on my heart. And I remember I was driving, and I know exactly where I was driving, and I remember driving and thinking, I prayed, if you even want to call it a prayer, it might not even have been a prayer, it was just kind of something I said, but I said it to God, and I said, God, just give me more love and compassion. Um, and it was like instantly, as I'm driving, there was a person, an older gentleman, that was waiting at the bus stop, and something inside me just wanted to pray for him. I've never felt like that before. I'm not even sure that I cared about people enough to do that
yeah,
before. And so I remember where I was when I felt the change inside me. And then, of course, it took a lot of learning and growing, and I continue to learn and grow, and I'm certainly not where I want to be. But I can I can remember it was just as simple as just saying, God help me with this, and not 20 minutes later, I felt that change in me. And then, of course, it grew over time. So, um, there's a lot of things. I mean, there's death, there's retirement, there's all these other things, but being able to have that relationship with him, it's, and I know I probably
yeah,
don't need to tell you that, but it is, I can't, there's no price tag on that. There's a peace around it. There's a joy inside that I didn't feel before. Um, it's just, it's hard to even explain unless you really experience it. And so, for your viewers and your listeners, um, again, not pushing anything on anybody, but just that's the experience, and I believe everyone can experience that.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And talking about how God was your inspiration
Absolutely.
and everything. So on that, is there something like a quote or maybe even a scripture that's something that just sticks with you that like speaks life to you? Like I know for me personally, like there is a sermon that I listen to like every morning because it just inspires me and like brings life to me every day. But something that just sticks with you, like maybe a scripture or even just a quote or something that someone has said to you that stuck out that you would want to share with others.
Yeah. Well, the Bible verse that I think of in Philippians is, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so that's something that just right here in this moment has just kind of come to me. But really, every morning, Melissa, I spend time in, in in my Bible. Some people may call that meditation. For me, it's my quiet time and spending time with Him. And that I do every morning and every night, and it's exactly what I need that day, and it changes. It's not the same every single day. Some days I wake up, I'm fully joyful, and then there's some days I wake up and maybe not so joyful. And but once I get into that quiet time, when I leave, almost always leave fulfilled. And so, there are things that vary. The other thing that really um, kind of recently, something I heard from T.D. Jakes, Bishop T.D. Jakes, was that, and it's simple but deep, is that preparation is liberation. And it's good, it's so good. Um, and I really thought about that in everything. I mean, we're talking, this is a brand new year, we're talking about preparing your finances. Um, but the freedom you get from being prepared. And so when I spend that time in the morning and I spend that time at night, I'm preparing for the day.
Yeah.
And in that day, there is liberation. There is freedom in that day. Even though there's challenges all around me, of course, there's going to be, and there are. Um, but there's a freedom. There's a liberation because I've prepared in the morning and spent that time. And so I guess that's a quote from Bishop T.D. Jakes that really, really kind of has set in my heart, and I've really been thinking through, and is I guess I've just been more aware of.
Yeah, and that's so good because I know, like, with me, I'm a procrastinator. Like, I'm so bad. I can fully admit that, people know I am. But, like, even coming into this year, I was like, all right, I'm write it down, know what I want. Like, even for the show, and I was like, all right, I'm going to get all my people lined up. And it was so much freeing because I wasn't having to worry about like scrambling around and looking for people or interviews and stuff like that. Like being the procrastinator I am, and so there is so much like liberation of like preparing and setting things. So that's really good. I really like that. I like that a lot.
I'm like that too, Melissa. There's a lot of times I wait till the very end, especially when I shouldn't be saying this, but sometimes when I'm working with some clients, I hope none of my clients are listening. Sometimes when I know, sometimes when I'm preparing for them, I may prepare an hour before, and it takes about an hour to prepare. And so, and then I'm cramming, and then I'm trying to get to their home or wherever I'm meeting them. And when I sit down in front of them, I don't feel as prepared as good, and I can still get through it, and of course I'm going to be honest with them and those kinds of things. But those times when I prepare ahead of time and I'm not rushing through traffic to get to this person's home, it just feels different. It feels good, and so yeah, there's definitely a lot of truth to feeling that freedom when you are prepared. So,
yeah, there is. I'm like, I know I need that word. That's a good word because that's a word for me.
Thank you, Bishop T.D. Jakes.
Yes, I needed that. So, just in case you guys are just tuning in or have been with us the whole entire time, we're talking about finances today, and this is Jamila with AP Financial. She's here locally, native. Guys, she is the one to go to. Like, I can't tell you how much, like, she's so trustworthy, just confidential. Like, I know her personally, and getting to know her over time, like, just whatever you share with her, stays with her. And I believe that not only just in business, but personal. And so this is someone you can really trust and go to. And so feel free, I'm going to drop those links in the comments below so you guys can get a hold of her. She relayed her information earlier on. So if you're just joining, maybe you can tell them again. She's going to share with you her information so you can get a hold of her. So any of you that need help with debt relief, retirement, I mean, she's successful. She's got it all down under her belt. Author, writer. And this is our girl right here. So if you want to go ahead and share that again.
Yeah, so my phone number, 303-915-8827. And then my email address is jnathaniel@appreciationfinancial.com. And so, Melissa, we don't typically do this, but for your viewers, if you call and if you or if you email and you just say that you heard about this on Melissa's show today, I'll give you a 50% discount on the debt consolidation and debt relief program that we work through.
That's so awesome. See, guys, she's already hooking you up. Let her know if you call her, email her, let her know that you heard it from Ignite with Melissa on KUHS. I'm so glad you were here and joining us today. Thank you so much. I mean, there's so much information. I mean, the numbers are shocking as always. Yeah. But I'm just so glad that we have a trustworthy person that can help out. And I'm so excited for everybody that gets in contact with you and everybody who's going to get all their debt taken care of this year. Yes. Guys, start it up. Yes, I'm believing with you
Yes.
because I did it a long time ago. Mine went kind of sour the wrong way, but you got somebody right here that's gonna help you do it the right way. So thank you so much for
Yes.
coming on.
Thank you to the viewers
Yeah.
and the listeners. Thank you for being here.
And so I'm just
Thank
so
you.
grateful for you coming out, and I just want to wish you nothing but continued success on your business, on your life, on everything, and just God's continuous blessings upon everything and favor. And I believe He can bless you even more. And I'm just so excited for you. Like I get so happy. And so again, guys, I'll be dropping it in the link below, and just in case those of you that don't go back or can't hear it on the broadcasting, we'll drop it in there for you if you need a contact link, and I'll put everything in the comments for you so you can get a hold of her. And we're so just grateful for you guys for tuning in today. And as always, like I like to tell you guys, if no one's told you today, you have purpose, you are loved, and you belong. So your girl Jamila, hey, and your girl Melissa, signing out with KUHS Denver. We love you guys. Love,
Love
peace,
you. Yes.
and God bless.
Bye.